The trip from Utah to Georgia was supposed to be a kind of slow, meandering adventure. My husband had mapped it that way on purpose, plotting a route that dipped and curved through places he'd always wanted to see: quiet towns, forgotten highways, and wide-open landscapes that barely registered as destinations on most people's maps. I didn't mind the detours. I actually liked them. There was something comforting about long stretches of road where nothing happened, where time seemed to stretch and thin out until it felt like the world was holding its breath. Still, there was a downside to that kind of travel. The farther you drifted from major highways and cities, the lonelier the roads became. Gas stations grew scarce. Cell service flickered in and out. And once night fell, the darkness felt heavier than usual, like it pressed down on the windshield and swallowed the road ahead. We had been driving since early morning. By the time the sun dipped low and turned the sky orange and purple, my body gave up on staying awake. I curled against the passenger door, the hum of the engine lulling me into sleep. I've always been able to sleep in moving cars. Something about the steady vibration just shuts my brain off. The last thing I remember before drifting out was a stretch of highway glowing faintly under the dying light of sunset. I woke up to the sensation of slowing down. Not braking sharply, just easing off the gas. My eyes fluttered open, and I realized it was dark, fully dark. The digital clock on the dashboard read a little after 10 p.m. outside the windshield. A lonely gas station appeared out of nowhere, its lights harsh and white against the surrounding farmland. "We should probably stop here," my husband said casually. "Top off the tank and grab some snacks. Who knows when we'll see another place?" I nodded, still half asleep. As he pulled in beside one of the pumps, I stretched and yawned. My first coherent thought was that I needed to use the bathroom. Badly. "I'm going inside," I said, already reaching for the door handle. I didn't grab my phone. I didn't bring my purse. I didn't even put on shoes beyond the flip-flops I'd been wearing all day. In my mind, this was a quick in-and-out situation. Gas station bathroom, wash hands, maybe grab a drink, and back on the road. The store itself was small and quiet. The automatic doors slid open with a tired mechanical sigh. Inside, the air smelled like hot dogs, coffee that had been sitting too long, and that unmistakable sterile cleaner scent common to roadside bathrooms. An older man stood behind the counter, his shoulders slouched, his eyes fixed on something below the register. He didn't look up when I walked in. The bathroom was down a narrow hallway toward the back of the store. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead as I walked. The hallway felt oddly long, like it stretched farther than it should have in such a small building. I reached the women's restroom and pushed the door open. I almost collided with someone. A woman was stepping out of one of the stalls at the exact moment I entered. We both stopped abruptly, inches apart. Under normal circumstances, it would have been nothing more than an awkward near-miss followed by a quick apology. But there was nothing normal about her. Her hair was gray and messy, clumped together in a way that looked unwashed and strangely sticky, as if it had been slept in for days without care. Strands clung to her scalp and neck at odd angles. She wore foam flip-flops that made a soft slapping sound against the tile floor when she shifted her weight. What really stood out, though, was her coat. It was thick and bulky, colored in deep purples and sickly greens, the fabric worn and faded. It looked more appropriate for the dead of winter. We were in western Kansas in the middle of summer, and it was still warm outside even at night. She was holding a plastic grocery bag, knotted tightly at the top. When she looked at me, she didn't say anything. She just stared. Not a casual glance. Not a confused look. It was a fixed, unblinking stare, heavy and expectant, like she was waiting for me to do something specific. Say something specific. I felt a flicker of unease, but brushed it off. People are weird. Gas stations attract all kinds. I gave her a polite nod and tried to step around her. She didn't move right away. For a second, we stood there facing each other in the narrow doorway. Then she shifted just enough to let me pass. I slipped into the bathroom, assuming that was the end of it. I was wrong. Instead of leaving, the woman turned around and followed me inside. I noticed it in my peripheral vision as I moved toward the sinks. She stepped in and stopped a few feet behind me. She didn't turn on the water. She didn't check her reflection. She just stood there, arms hanging stiffly at her sides, watching me. The feeling in my stomach tightened. I avoided looking directly at her and walked into the nearest stall, locking the door behind me. As soon as I sat down, the reality of the situation hit me all at once. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have my purse. If something happened, I had no way to call my husband. I sat there, perfectly still, listening. I expected to hear the bathroom door open again. Footsteps leaving. Something normal. Instead, there was silence. Then breathing. It wasn't loud. It wasn't exaggerated. But it wasn't mine. Someone was still in the bathroom with me. My heart started pounding so hard I was afraid she might hear it. I held my breath, straining to listen. The breathing stayed steady and quiet, coming from somewhere near the door. I waited. After what felt like several minutes, I finally heard the soft slap of flip-flops moving toward the exit. The bathroom door opened and slammed shut. Relief washed over me. Still, I didn't move right away. Something about the situation felt wrong. I waited another 30 seconds, listening carefully. No breathing. No movement. I started to relax. Then the bathroom door opened and closed again. And with it came a sharp, sudden gasp. Like someone who had been holding their breath for too long. My blood ran cold. She had faked leaving. Twice. I sat frozen in the stall, every nerve screaming. I had no idea what she wanted or what she was doing, but I knew one thing with absolute certainty. This wasn't accidental. This wasn't misunderstanding or social awkwardness. She was playing with me. Minutes dragged by. I didn't dare move. My legs ached from tension. My mind raced through worst-case scenarios. Was she waiting outside the stall? Was she standing right by the door again? Had she left this time? Or was she listening for me to unlock the stall? Eventually, the fear became unbearable. I couldn't stay there forever. Slowly, as quietly as I could, I unlocked the stall and stepped out. The bathroom was empty. No woman. No bag. No coat. I washed my hands in record time, barely glancing at my reflection. My heart was still pounding as I opened the bathroom door and stepped back into the store. Out near the counter, a large man was finishing up his purchase. I lingered by a rack of snacks, pretending to browse until he paid and walked toward the exit. Then I followed him. The automatic doors slid open, and cool night air hit my face. That's when I saw her again. She was standing off to the side of the entrance, partially hidden in the shadows cast by the building. The purple and green coat was unmistakable. Her eyes were locked onto me, her expression no longer blank, but openly hostile. She was holding something in her hand. I couldn't tell what it was. I didn't wait to find out. I hurried across the lot toward our car, my flip-flops slapping loudly against the pavement. My husband was still at the pump, the nozzle humming as gas flowed into the tank. I climbed into the passenger seat and slammed the door. "Drive," I said, my voice shaking. He looked at me, startled. "What's wrong?" "That woman in the bathroom," I said. "She followed me. She pretended to leave. Twice. She's outside." He didn't ask questions. He finished pumping, jumped into the driver's seat, and pulled out of the station. As we drove away, I looked back. She was still standing there, watching us go. I don't know what she wanted. I don't know what was in that bag. I don't know what she was holding when I walked outside. What I do know is this: if I had stayed in that bathroom a few seconds longer, or stepped out at the wrong moment, I don't think I would have walked away so easily. We didn't stop again until sunrise. And I never use a gas station bathroom without my phone anymore.